Hey all, Tony Bing here, hello and welcome back to the channel. Now today I will be joined by the awesome Valleyflyin and we will be having a look at the Brotherhood and doing some Theorycrafting around teams you can build with them. So let's do this.
Yes, and we are doing a special video. We're collabing, but Tony, I see your face. I love it, man. Awesome stuff. But anyway, we did a collab. We were talking about the Brotherhood team, right? And how they have so much synergy. Same thing with Shield, same thing with Defenders. We wanted to do something that has a little more theory crafting, because one of the things that both of us like doing is theory crafting. So I made 5 teams. It is on my channel. You guys can check it out, and Tony's reaction to it. And I'm very excited for this video because I haven't seen Tony's teams yet. I don't know what teams you're gonna put in front of me, but from what it sounded like when we did, when I showed you my teams, it sounds like these are some very fun teams. So I'm looking forward to this, man.
Yeah, I did certainly hype them up, perhaps a bit too much when I said they were all 10 out of 10s, but I'm happy with them. I think they turned out well. The teams are very different from the teams that you've chosen, so it'll make it interesting enough, even if anyone's watched the original video, to hopefully watch this one as well. So the first character we'll be starting off with here, and Valley will be seeing the actual characters for the first time as well, so you'll see his genuine reaction. The first character will be Mystique. So here we go, we'll bring her up now.
Let's get to it.
So we have the team I'm using here, and this isn't necessarily the turn order that I've placed them in. I'm not as organised as Valley was in his video, but I have Loki, Mordo, Mystique, Scarlet and Nobu. Now what I'll do is I'll actually run over the way the rotation would work, and I've managed to test the rotation for the majority of these characters. Some I didn't have at the time, such as Magneto and SABRETOOth, but what I've done is I replaced them with characters with a similar speed so we could replicate it. But here we go for the rotation. Once I've done that, we'll see what I'll get out of 10. And I was, perhaps in hindsight, a little bit harsh, so this is possibly an opportunity for Valley to get his own back on me here. We'll find out.
I'm actually going to be very much more generous with you than I was with my own teams. So
you're the better person. So with this particular team, I've got my notes here, and it's all about burning down at the start via Loki and also Mystique, and then after that you can get to a certain point where you'll have a ton of summons and you can add defense as well. So the way this works is you start off with Loki's special, you'll move on to Mordo's special, which gives you an element of survivability there with the stun and the blind. You then have Mystique ult to hopefully take out a character that you've already whittled down with Loki. Moving on from that, if you've got enough blinds and stuns from Mordo, you'll extend them with Scarlet Witch. Noble calls in his summons, as long as you don't have Punisher, because Punisher will go shortly afterwards and take them out. On to the next round, and this is where it all starts to click together. So Loki then calls in his summons, and you should have close to a full team of 8 summons by this point. Mystique, you'll use the basic or special depending if anyone actually has stealth. Mordo's applying the heal block. Scarlet then adds the defense and deflect. Now we're saving that to round 2 because she's then adding defense and deflect to potentially up to 10 characters, and you've got the evade as well on Loki's summons. And then finally a rotation after that, if you've still got some summons up, Nobu can add counter, and it's 1 to 2 counter to all of them, and then simply my notes end with game over from that point in there. So what do you think of that one, Valley?
I think this is a good team. Like you said, it doesn't really ramp up until the turn 2, but there is still a lot of damage coming on turn 1 from Mystique and Loki. Nobu is an interesting choice, and I think you put him there for the summons and the counters. And his summons are very strong, the Archer and the Blade Master. Tons of damage. You got the Dispel with the Archer. Depending on what the team is, like you said, if you got a Punisher that will take out those summons, could be some problems. But against the right team, this team will absolutely wreck. It's just a matter of them surviving long enough to get all their turns and to do all their nasty moves that they have the potential to do.
One part I should mention, and that I actually forgot in the first section there, was the fact that the reason I went for Nobu along with Loki is Loki has the additional focus, resistance and turn meter he offers to Mystic controllers, so he's actually offering that to Loki, Mordo, Scarlet Witch and Nobu as well. I'll throw that in before you get to the rating part to see if that scrapes me up a little bit there, but overall, what are you thinking of that team?
I would have to go with, out of 10, I'd say this is an 8. There's some good synergy here, especially with Loki, Mystic controllers, and you got the damage. You got a lot of extra potential troops on the field with the summons from Loki, the summons from Nobu. A lot of control on the field. Scarlet Witch could do some nasty controls as well. So I would go for a solid 8 on this team.
That sounds good. I'm happy with that. I think that would probably match up with my own personal rating. Mystique, I would say, I think she's possibly the weakest character out of the Brotherhood, because when I've been trying to come up with teams I would use, she's one of the first characters that would actually drop. Do you feel the same? Is it Mystique you would drop, or would you go for someone else potentially?
Mystique's a little challenging because, like I said when we did the first part, she does it fancy, but it's pretty much just damage from her whole kit, and doesn't offer a lot outside of that. I mean, if you look at her normal attack, she doesn't do that defense down like Loki does, and you know, she really gets a lot if she has if she's going up against stealth characters. So she's situational, but you know, obviously in that Brotherhood team she kicks some butt. So
yeah, I agree 100% with the stealth. I feel that if you're going up against a team that doesn't have stealth, you're potentially not making her full potential, and I find myself using the basic rather than the special if the other team doesn't have stealth at all there. So that's not a bad start. That's 8 out of 10 to start off. So we've got the Pyro team.
Wait, hold on. What would you rate your own team out of 10?
I would probably say an 8 as well.
Okay.
I think you're spot on there, definitely.
We're in agreement.
So that's a good start. So we'll check out Pyro. This is one I was happy with, and I've done a fair bit of testing, and this one was nice. So here we go here. So we've got...
nasty.
Yeah, it looks pretty nice. We've got... I have done a duplicate actually, because in the last video I know how we talked about not actually duplicating characters for the different teams. The only character that has been duplicated is Scarlet Witch, so hopefully you will let me off with that.
I'll let you off. This is a nice team. I'm liking how this is playing out.
That's good. So we've got Scarlet, Vision, Venom, Pyro and Ant-Man. Now I will mention that with Ant-Man I was very torn between using Ant-Man and Mordo, because they're really there for the debuffs. With Ant-Man it's the slow and ability block. With Mordo, of course, it's the blind, the stun, and also the heal block. But I didn't want to do 2 characters that were the same, so we settled for Ant-Man. So I'll run over the rotation, and once again you can let me know what you think. So we start off here, so you have ability block on the first turn via Vision. That's really great from a defensive perspective. You can lock some of the more potent characters down with that. We then have Scarlet Witch. Now we're going straight in here with Scarlet's defense and deflect up. We'd follow up with Ant-Man. If the turn bars are low on the enemy team, then use the skill that actually applies the slow. I believe that's the ultimate. If their turn bars are about to flick over, there's no point applying the slow, so you would go for the ability block on the special. You then have Pyro, and he's adding his special and the 2 bleeds for 2 turns. Venom follows that up. Now potentially if you follow that up with his ultimate, then you're adding, I think it's 3 bleeds for 2 turns, or that's potentially special that's on. And then Vision is adding the AoE bleed, and then Scarlet is now extending all those bleeds. So this is the one I talked about yesterday where, yeah, I think it's something like maybe over the different turns, it could be something like 12 bleeds you could have over 2 to 3 turns. And then that's where my notes end, because it says game over from that point. So what do you think of that one?
This is a really tough team. I'm trying to think of counters in my head off the fly, because this team will wreck a bunch of teams with all those debuffs. You're getting those debuffs extended, a bunch of bleeds. You got 2 characters with ability block. You got Ant-Man with his slow. You could really cripple the enemy team. And very good. You know, Ant-Man is very underrated. When I first saw him, I'm like, Ant-Man, I think a lot of people underrate him because of his damage, but with his mass slows, with his ability block, very strong character, great synergy with Vision and Scarlet Witch. You got potential for even more bleeds with them, and then Venom and Pyro. Very, very good combination if you're not using Pyro in that Brotherhood team. Venom's nice with him. Same thing with Scarlet Witch. Those three, I think, go very well together. I think all of these synergize very well with each other.
Yeah. You have a lot, when I was picking this team, quite a lot of them have got debuffs that last for multiple turns, and that gives you the flexibility on the first turn to go for the defense up on Scarlet, because even with Ant-Man, who you spoke about a moment ago, his ability block is for up to 2 turns, and then Pyro's bleed is for 2 turns, and Venom's bleed is for 3 turns as well. So yeah, this is one I was most definitely happy with how it turned out, so no pressure, don't feel like you have to be nice to me here, but what would you give them out of 10?
So the highest thing I rated one of my teams is an 8.7. So I'm rating this one at 9.
Nice. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's off to a good start. An 8 to 9.
This is a nice one.
Now the next team we're coming up with.
Wait, you gotta rate it. You gotta rate yours. You gotta rate it too.
So I do. Sorry, let me have a look. So I'm just really eager to get to this next team, because I think I could tell your reaction during that team. You were quite impressed with it. Now this next team, I think this could be even better. So to rate the Pyro team, you got a lot of defense in the first turn as well. So let's see. I think about a 9 sounds right as well. To be honest, I'll go for a 9. That sounds about right. Now, leading on, we have SABRETOOTH. So let me bring it up, and we'll hear your initial gasp as you see this one. Hopefully, it's quite different. What's your initial impressions before I run over anything with this one?
It's going to take me a little while to see what is going on. Explain this team to me so I don't have to think.
Yeah, no problem. That's fine. I was just trying to put you on the spot there to see how you react.
I see Spider-Man coming real quick with his defense down.
Yeah, definitely.
Daredevil is probably doing his special, although his ultimate might work. But let me hear your thoughts.
Yeah, right. So with this one, it was all about really boosting the damage after the initial turn via Spider-Man. So the way this particular one works, the characters you have, of course, are Daredevil, Spider-Man, Deadpool, Miss Marvel and SABRETOOTH. Now with Daredevil, he starts off first, and I would actually use his special for the counter. The reason for that is when you get all the counters, Spider-Man will then have the chance to apply his defense down for the counters. And also because Spider-Man's defense down is 2 turns, it means on the next turn Daredevil will be using his ultimate against defense down allies. Then that's nice, I think.
Yeah, because his speed is a little faster.
Yeah, definitely. So it's Daredevil special, all the counter, Spider-Man defense down, so that's for the 2 turns. It's followed up by Deadpool with his ultimate chain. Miss Marvel actually use the basic. The reason for that is you want to save the energy regen for the next round when a lot of characters have used their skills, otherwise you're wasting it. You then have SABRETOOTH with his ultimate or special, depending on whether or not there's a tank and you need the extra pierce damage he does. Daredevil then comes in with his ultimate, and again, as mentioned, that's against targets that have defense down. Spidey's doing some stun. Deadpool is picking off any characters that potentially are out in the fringes, and there's another tank that's got taunt up. Miss Marvel's then doing the AoE and providing energy for the next turn, and SABRETOOTH's got his special or his ultimate. And there you go. What do you think of that?
I think that one of the strongest combos is Spider-Man and Deadpool, because of defense down and that big chain. Little bit of RNG with Deadpool because his chain could go many different combinations. And then you got 3 hero brawlers there to synergize well with Miss Marvel. SABRETOOTH is a good character and does well here. I'm looking at counters for this team, and I'm thinking an early tank might kind of counter this team. If you potentially that Captain America and Black Widow combo, where you have Captain America with that taunt defense up to everybody, Black Widow with her stealth. So you can't, Spider-Man's not going to chain everybody with that defense, and that kind of can screw this team up. But the other characters, very strong to kind of make up for it. Against certain teams, this team is just going to wreck them. but early taunt like a Drax or Captain America, or even a Kree Royal Guard, kind of sucks as a character, but he has a really early taunt as well. I would see that as the only potential weakness. And is there Dispel? I don't know.
I think you're spot on. I didn't actually think a lot of that. Like when I do think of it now, when you mention it, let's say you have Drax to start, we don't have the Dispel, and then you have also Black Widow, who's going to be stopping the chains. Then she could stop Deadpool. She could stop Spidey. As well.
I'm seeing. I mean, more so than Drax, because Spider-Man's just gonna keep going with that chain. So is Daredevil.
Yeah.
The big counter I think is a Captain America Black Widow right next to Captain America would be a little tougher for this team. You can still get through it, you can still win, but that team would make it a little tougher. And there's probably more that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head that might be a little tough. But
that's
a good team. I think I like the last team better, but this is a very good team.
Yeah, in hindsight, I probably was happier with this team, but now, whenever you get another person's point of view, it can always open you up to some things you maybe overlooked, and you're most definitely right. So, with all that in mind, the fact they do have a few weaknesses there, where do you think they would place out of 10?
I would go I like it a little. I think I like that first team a little better as well. This team is still good, so I would go 7.85. How about that one?
You had me worried there. I thought you were going to say 6.
No,
I was about to.
No, the Spider-Man Deadpool combo really makes it. SABRETOOTH is just adding extra damage in a bunch of different places. But yeah. I think a 7.85 is where I'd rate this team. What about yourself?
Sounds about right. I would say it's in between about the 7 and the 8. So yeah, I would agree with you. I would say you're spot on for that one there. Now let's see what we have next. We have Juggernaut. Here we go. What about that?
This is your villains. Nice.
Yeah. Initial impressions before we jump in then, or again, am I putting you on the spot here? If you want, I'll run through the rotation first.
I mean, just those three in the middle. Kingpin, Crossbones, and Yondu make a strong team.
Yeah. More
survivability with Juggernaut, Hand Sentry. And because Hand Sentry is going so early, I think it helps Juggernaut's speed, because that's the one big thing that he lacks outside of a Brotherhood team. So I like this team. Let me hear your turn order, how this goes.
Yeah, definitely. One of the reasons I had for dropping Hand Sentry is exactly what you say. A lot of the other characters that would be providing the protection, the likes of Kingpin and Juggernaut, are really quite slow. It's also a full villains team, so you have all the additional assists you can get via Kingpin. But the order we're running in here, you have Yondu, Sentry, Crossbones, Jugs, and Jugs, I've called them, Juggernaut even. I'm going to make this video X-rated if I keep this up. So, and Kingpin as well. So you're starting off with Yondu. You're using his basic. You can cleanse a taunt off the likes of Drax. From there, Sentry will be using his special. He's going to keep all the other characters alive. Next up, you have Crossbones, and you'll be using the basic for a fence down on the likes of, let's say, if Gamora's in the team, you would use it on her. You then go for the basic on Juggernaut as well, because this gives you an additional charge for when you fire off the ultimate. Kingpin's up next. He gives you the fence up and defense up, and then in my notes it says this is where the fun begins. So you have Yondu with the Yaka arrow, and that's of course got that fence up. Sentry's unfortunately only got the basic, but Crossbones has got the detonate. Juggernaut has the ultimate with 3 charges, so if that's maxed out, that's 620% damage. A fence up on it as well. And running Juggernaut myself, he's only 4-star, 19k power, and I've seen him crit for 38,000 on this ultimate already. So with this team, we hopefully have the survivability in the first turn, and then in the second turn the enemy is absolutely screwed. So again, how does this one look?
This is a strong team. I wouldn't want to fight this team. If I saw it in Blitz or Arena, I would probably avoid it. The only caveat to that is if I was using Shield, because Shield could be pretty much most teams in the game. So even the best Theorycrafting, Shield kind of gets around that. But yeah, I mean, Shield would take out Brotherhood. Only other problem, I mean, the Shield would take out Yondu first, I think, and then after that it's a little easier. But in a normal team, the only problem I would see is if someone goes before Hand Sentry and they could get to Yondu, or they could stun Kingpin first. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that would be a real good counter to this team except for Shield. Maybe defenders, but I'm not seeing how that would play out right now just off the top of my head. But this is a solid team. Like I said, I would definitely avoid this off if I was fighting it. And if I was playing this, I think it would kill the enemies very quickly, except in certain against Shield. But pretty much everything else, I think this team would beat.
Yeah, it's one of these teams, sometimes when you get into matches, it can be hard to pick the character to actually target. And in this one, do you want to try and burn down Sentry before the special goes up? Do you try and burn down Crossbones? Do you try and stop Juggernaut? So, yeah, this one could be a difficult one. I was happy with this one turned out. With all that in mind, where would you sit for the rating for this one?
This is a tough one. I'm not sure if I should rate it above your second team with Pyro or slightly. I'm not sure which one I like better. I like both of them. Let's just to keep it simple, let me give it the same rate. I'll give it a 9 as well. This is a strong team. I mean, because even if you take out Yondu, you still got a bunch of other threats. I think that would be my first target is Yondu, but you still got Crossbones with the offense up. And it's hard to get to all these guys with the stealth that Hand Sentry provides. So if you don't get that in that first turn, it's kind of game over if Hand Sentry could get his stealth up.
Yeah, and he has a chance to block it as well if you ability block it.
Yeah.
With Vision, there's a chance that Hand Sentry could actually block that. So I think that sounds about right. That was one of the teams along.
I'm going to change my rating. I'll give this a 9.15. I think I like a little better. Now that I'm talking it.
You can interrupt me anytime if you're going to upgrade the rating.
I'm sorry.
Don't apologise. So we're on to the last team.
Wait, you got to give your rating. You got to give your rating.
I do every single time I forget this.
That's what I'm here for. I'm here to remind you.
Rating wise, I think you were being overly generous potentially, so I would say that I'd give this one a 9. I would go for.
Okay. Yeah, I just see if Hand Sentry gets his smoke bomb off,
that's it.
It's tough, man. You gotta try to get to this team before that. And even if you do, you're picking one threat and you still got others you gotta deal with.
Yeah, definitely. So the final one we have here is one that I struggled with. I believe in your video, there's a link to that in the description, that you initially, the initial impression was that you maybe struggled a bit with Magneto, but when we looked at that team, we realised how solid it actually was.
Yeah, I think the Magneto team ended up being my favorite, even though I thought it was the worst. But as I played out the teams, I thought that was the scariest one to fight.
Yeah, he does look exceptionally strong, and when you look at his base stats, I've been calculating them. They come out really nice as well. They really do. But here is the final team. Yeah, quite a different one there. I'll give you a moment to digest that. So we have Magneto, Venom, Thanos, Rocket Raccoon and Star-Lord. So the way this one would be working, you start off with Rocket with his special. Star-Lord follows it up with the ultimate. Generally if you use the two of them together, that will take out a more squishy character. Thanos will then be taunting up. It's a little bit slow. Don't have a great deal of defense there, unfortunately. This is why I'm not overly happy with this one. Magneto's then using his ultimate, and Magneto outside the Brotherhood team is painfully slow. Venom would be spreading the blinds that come from Magneto's ultimate via his ultimate. Rocket uses his ultimate. Star-Lord is then adding more blinds, and Thanos, if he has energy from any defeated characters, will use his ultimate, and then it's back to Magneto with his special. So again, this is one I'm not overly happy with what I come up with. So what's your thoughts on this one?
I like the Thanos Star-Lord Rocket combo. I think that provides a lot of energy. Rocket will just kick butt in this team. Magneto, like you said, he's a little slow. So I'm not sure how to mitigate that on this team to make the most use out of it. The one that I'm not sure of on this team is Venom. I'm not sure where he fits. I love him on that Pyro team. I love him in certain teams. That's the one I'm struggling with, because he's another slow character too. And
that's a very good point.
he's not doing a lot. You know, so you get a fast team, Shield, Avengers, even Defenders would go through this. I mean, those like meta teams, but yeah, I think you would chance my Juggernaut team. I would chance this team. I might not win,
yeah,
depending on who I'm using, but I think I would like to play against this team and see what happens. But the thing that's really tough is a Thanos, Rocket, and Star-Lord combo. That is killing a lot of stuff
Yeah.
with that. Especially if you're getting a bunch of kills as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at characters potentially. You have Drax that would pull the damage from Rocket and Star-Lord straight away there, and then you could potentially use the likes of Quake to slow down Venom, Magneto, and Thanos, and they're almost out of the game once you do that. So I do agree, weak team. This is the last one I actually done when I was running through these, and it was late at night, so that's my excuse for this one.
There's no excuses.
I just thought I would try and get away with that there. That's fair enough. Where would you rate this team, and go as low as you want?
Alright, well, I'm not gonna go super low because the threat of those three is still makes it a strong team. Magneto's awesome, Venom's awesome. Their problem is their speed, and if I'm using them, I think I want a way to speed them up. So I think that's the weak point there, is their speed. But if you just look at their kits and their skills, very solid crew right here. It's just the turn order that's going to be a little weird with the way the speed is. As far as rating, I think you're right. This is the least favorite of the teams that you built. I don't want to go too low because they do have a threat there, but obviously not as good as the other ones. I would go with this one 7.25.
That's higher than I thought, to be honest. Personally, I think you're being nice here. Personally, I would have went for a 5 with this one. I really wasn't happy with this team.
It's not that bad. There's still some tricks that this team could do.
Yeah,
I just don't think it could take out a lot of the meta teams.
Yeah, most of the points and the power really though were coming from the Thanos, Rocket, and Star-Lord combo that you could drop in any team and they would bump them up a fair bit. So I think they're possibly skewing the score in this team way up based on those 3 characters. But yeah, this was a tough one to do, and I'm hoping as time goes on, with Magneto being a legendary character, that he can fit into a few more teams, because I know you've raised concerns about how heavy they're going in on synergies at the moment, and it's a concern I have as well.
Yeah, but you know, Thanos fits into a lot of teams. Star-Lord fits into a lot of teams. Vision fits into a lot of teams. Scarlet Witch, Venom, you know, multiple teams with those guys. So, you know, not everything is synergy, but yeah, the 3 top teams, Brotherhood, Shield, and Defenders, they do have that synergy, so it's tough to beat them.
So that is the 5 Brotherhood teams that I would be using if I didn't have access to all the Brotherhood characters. Now, feel free to leave your actual ratings in the comments below for the 5 teams that I've done today. Of course, I done a similar video with Valley on his channel where we rated his 5 teams, and I do believe I was possibly a little bit harsh on him, so apologies for that, Valley. There is a link in the description to Valley's channel. Feel free to head there and subscribe and check out the video, of course. If you enjoyed the collaboration that we've both done today, feel free as well to leave suggestions for future videos you would like to see us to collaborate on. And really, to finish up, because this man does the best intros and best outros, I'll hand it over to Valley to finish up tonight.
Oh, I think you're being overly generous, but I will ask you one question, Tony Bing. What you gonna do, brother, when Valleyflyin and all the Valley Maniacs come down on you, dude?